What's going on, family? We are back checking out another song from Ren in the Money Game series. I felt like it was only time to get into another song from the Money Game series. We had been on the journey of seeing the murder and the murder like alternative version, which I don't even know how you could do that with an acoustic version and like make it even that much cooler. But somehow Ren does, and he always finds a way again to like just explain something in a better way each and every time. So even though he's talked about money like a ton of times and times that I've heard, I know he's going to provide more conversation in part 2. So let's go ahead and check it out.
Strange time we're living in, panic and hysteria. Poor man learn, the rich man don't care for your narcissist mindset spread like malaria. Sit back and watch the show. America, Britain split through fickle shit. A government of hypocrites. These counterfeit politicians sit in parliament, not adequate. Come on. Needlessly bleeding, resources all dry. Turn a blind eye if it means a pay rise. Oh, what a shame it would be, I would die if number 10 Downing Street burned in a fire. Only joking, only messing, don't be stressing. I'm a peaceful adolescent, there's no need to be unpleasant. Write my thesis in a rhyme.
He's like, I gotta make sure that I just say that I'm joking, guys. Gotta make sure I'm still saying that I'm kidding, because in some places you're not even allowed to like even kind of like put those kind of ideas out there. And that's one of the things, again, where music is an art form, right? And we've talked about this a few times, where I feel like music is a place where whether you like or hate it, it's allowed to be here, and you're allowed to say it, and you're allowed to express it. Just because you say you're going to do something, just because you say you're going to burn a house down, you're going to burn down whatever on 10th Street and all that kind of stuff, doesn't mean you're actually going to do it. Sometimes it's just a way to kind of express your feelings and emotion, but there's also a fine line between kind of inciting those things. And somebody pointed that out last time when we kind of talked about that, and I totally understand that perspective for sure. Of like, you can't go tell people to go do something either. You know what I mean? Like, you know, that's a whole different thing. Like, you know, yeah, you didn't do anything, but you kind of told them to go do it. So that's a whole different conversation. So yes, accountability always to the max, but you shouldn't ever be punished for saying that, like, hey, I feel like I'm going to go burn that building down. And I'm going to put that in an art form, especially like in music, right? Somebody was saying the other day, like somebody's telling me almost a story almost every day about Ren, about how something is getting struck by this person or that company, and because they're putting out some bullshit reason of why it needs to come down, right? They're putting out some bullshit reason of like, oh, well, that video, he was like selling drugs. You know, he mentioned it here earlier about how like the poor people are starting to realize that the rich people don't care about them. When you promise something to the poor people and you don't deliver that, that's how like really bad things happen. Like when you're playing with the poor people's emotions, that's like how really bad things happen. And I feel like we are reaching a day and age, really in a lot of places in the world, where people are really getting tired of being lied to and feeling like they're getting played with. And the government has a place, and there is a need for government. There is. But there has to be some sort of accountability to what they do. You know what I mean? And I think that's really all anybody really ever kind of wants, is just some accountability, and don't fucking lie to us, man. Like, we're so sick of being lied to. And yet, like, we're just so ready to take the next salesman and believe that they're different. You know what I mean? But how many times is that going to happen before people start getting really upset and really angry on a unified effort? And that's how again, bad things happen. Like there's so many different stories of so many different countries. That's why I try to not ever be specific and bring up specific places and stuff like that, because somebody always points out, well, here's another example over here in this country. That's kind of my point. It's like, no matter where you live or what you might be somewhat familiar with, it doesn't mean the rest of the world is spinning the same way. And I feel like a lot of times, like, we are very much sucked into our own worlds, that we have a hard time understanding anybody's perspective outside of our own, let alone somebody who's not in our country. You know what I mean? And so, like, he's made references to, like, the United Kingdom and the American governments. And there's a lot of similarities to those. Like, there's a lot of differences, but there's also a lot of similarities. And the things that he's pointing out is, like, basically the hypocrisies. You know what I mean? That all those people who can make the change and do the thing don't really ever do any of those things. They'll make a promise, they'll do X, Y, Z, whatever, but meanwhile, it's all just smoke and mirrors, so that way they can really just make money behind the scenes. And I feel like we all know that. I feel like we all understand that they're just, like, letting us, like, argue about this little stuff over here, so that way we'll be more focused on that, so that way, like, you won't know that me and my buddies over here are really just trying to make this thing over here run the fuck up. You know what I mean? Like, why wouldn't they do that when they have the ability to? Like, that's the human, like, nature that you have to fight against. That is, like, you have to be better than just the ability to be able to be so greedy. You do. You have to fight against that greed. That's the whole point of, I think, this Money Game series for me when it comes to Ren, is the fact that you have to fight against the greed. It's natural to try to want to take and, like, just take it all for yourself, but you got to get past that. You have to. You have to try to fight against those natural urges to be selfish, because that is how your brain teaches your heart to, like, operate, where it's like your brain's like, I gotta protect this at all costs, no matter what that looks like. And then, like, what other things, like, help provide, like, safety to that? You don't really think about everybody else. Like, that's what Ren encourages us to do, is to try to, like, take ourselves outside of our own shoes and look at something else from someone else's perspective. That's what I feel like the Renegades are. It's like, it's people from all over the goddamn planet that, like, are all feeling the same shit in one way or the other about all these same subjects, because it's all not just one country. You know what I mean? It's not just one place. It's just not just one people. Like, everybody thinks that they're so much different than everybody else is. But at the end of the day, we talk about this a lot. Like, we have so much similarities amongst us that we're too busy trying to figure out what makes us different. But there are so many things that makes us so similar. And the fact that, like, the people at the top who got all the power and all the money, they've never cared about us at the bottom. And they never will. And there's got to be people that make it through the ranks and they continue to rise up like Ren does. And he keeps spitting that same message. But what happens? Meta comes in and says, yo, dog, you're selling drugs in your videos, fam. Can't do that shit. Bigger powers are coming and trying to push you down. Stop spreading that message. If you're just tuning in, this is the beauty of a Johnny Foxtrot live stream reaction. We get a little all over the place. We were only 46 seconds into the song. If you were tuning in to listen to this Money Game Part 2 song, you should probably go listen to the actual song. I always leave it right at the top, very first link. Go listen to the song. If you think I paused too much, also, again, go listen to the song. Go support the artist. I'm here to talk about it, not about, if you want to listen to the song, again, it's down there. Let's get back to it, though.
Time scheme to analyze the brain while my fingers on the trigger of a money game.
Oh, rain, 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 rain. A storm, it comes our way. And no surprise to distorted lies. Poison in the veins, but we died upon the blame. It's easier to blame. We point the mirror at ourselves. We're all part of this whole money game. This old money game. This old money is.
So I'm guessing the reason why this sounds familiar is because like that's what like the first money game like hook was, right? Is like was like that slow little like guitar little lick and stuff like when he was like singing like all like smooth jazzy and whatnot. Like yeah, he got range for days though, for real. Like he goes to ska to R&B to hip hoppy, like it's all over the place, man. He kills all the genres. But I'm like, that's why it sounds familiar because I'm like, it's a great way to do a part two where like you kind of using that same little melody and whatnot, but you're playing with it and making it different, adding a little beat to it and stuff like that. Fire.
Here's a game and the ladder we climb turns a saint into a sinner with his fingering crime. I'll break it down for you motherfuckers line by line. This is business economics in a nursery rhyme. She sells seashells on a seashore, but the value of these shells will fall due to the laws of supply and demand. No one wants to buy shells because there's loads on the sand. Step one, you must create a sense of scarcity. Shells will sell much better if the people think they're rare, you see. Bear with me, take as many shells as you can find and hide them on an island. Stockpile them high until they're rarer than a diamond. Step two, gotta make the people think that they want them, really fucking want them. Hit them like Bronson, influencers, product.
Oh my god! All I can think about is I want to say that, and don't quote me if I'm wrong here. Don't quote me if I'm wrong here, because you might have to fact check this one. But I want to say that I had like read something about this exact same thing that he's talking about the idea of creating the scarcity. I've heard it with the idea of like making lemons. I've heard like I think somebody talk about the same premise with the idea of like lemons and lemonade, where you convince everybody that there's only a certain lemons from certain parts of the world, and that you gotta get them from there. And then like I remember it's like from a movie or something. I've heard a few of these different things before, where they basically have broken down this exact same thing, where like you're basically. He's breaking down the entire philosophy of how the entire process of how it could get the money. You know what I mean? Like he's literally just doing it. Like if you just read the lyrics, it's like the step-by-step process. Okay, now we're at the point where influence, product placement, feature primetime entertainment. Right, Super Bowl commercials. You know what I mean? Like you eventually get there. Why do we all know that the Pepsi Center halftime show is the Pepsi Center halftime show for the Super Bowl? Because Pepsi pays for it every single year, and they tell you every single like chance they get that it's the Pepsi halftime show. You know what I mean? Has anybody in the continental part of the United States of America? Now, you foreigners out there, like you might not be able to say this, but if you've ever been to the U.S., there's two sodas that everybody knows. And everybody has an opinion, typically, if you drink soda. Coke and Pepsi. Those are the two. They've been around forever, man. They've been around for the last, 30 years? At least both of them been around for the last 30 years. Coke, even longer. Pepsi, I can't remember exactly when they came into play. But at least the last 30 years. At the minimum. There's a person in America that does not know about Coke or Pepsi. Why do they continue to spend the money to have the Super Bowl halftime show? Why do you continue to see Pepsi commercials anywhere? Why do you see Coke commercials? Why do you see every year Coke and Santa commercials? Why? Because you want the Coke can with Santa on it, just like I do. Just like I do. It's the same Coke. You might not have bought Coke all year, but you might buy that one pack of Coke with Santa on it just because Santa's on it. Reese's does it with trees, Halloween goats, Valentine hearts. See what I'm saying here? Like, we just live in a world where, and the only reason you're getting it is because it looks a little different. It's just another way. It's just another way to make money. And it constantly is being shoved in our faces all the time. I can't speak for everywhere. I can only speak for the U.S. this way, because that is just how our society is. Like you said, you'll see a million Coke billboards all over the place, and it's all just subliminal messaging for you to just pick one of the two sides. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, isn't that we're in a constant battle in America, is picking one of the two sides? That's what happens in Monopoly. Eventually, everybody owns one side or the other, and you got to pick one side, or else you're on the other side and you're on the wrong one. You know what I mean? Why does it have even a conversation of like the fact that I'm a Coke guy and people who don't like Pepsi? Why have we had countless conversations with that about that at like dinner tables where it's like, you drink Pepsi for real? Like it's a dividing technique. It's another way to divide people. Money is at the root of all evil. You know what I'm saying? For the love of money is the root of all evil. Somebody quoted me because I didn't quote the exact Bible reference. But you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. Again, the Johnny Foxtrot live reaction, always better than a recorded one.
Placement featured primetime entertainment. If you haven't got a show, then you're just a fucking waste man. Free. It's Monopoly. Invest inside some property. Start a corporation, make a logo, do it properly. Shows must sell, that will be a new philosophy. Swallow all your morals, they're a poor man's quality. 4. Expand, expand, expand. Clear forest, make land, fresh blood on hands. 5. Why just shells? Why limit yourself? She sells seashells, sell oil as well. 6. Guns, sell stock, sell diamonds, sell rock, sell water to a fish, sell the time to a clock. 7. Press on the gas, take your foot off the brakes, then run to be the president of the United States. 8. Big smile, make big wave, that's great. Now the truth is overrated, tell lies out the gate. 9. Polarize the people, controversy is the game. It don't matter if they hate you, if they all say your name. 10. The world is yours, step out on the stage to a round of applause. You're a liar, cheat, a devil, a whore, and you sell seashells on the seashore.
Rain, 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 rain. The stormy comes our way. And no surprise to distorted lies, poison in the veins, but we died upon the blame. It's easier to blame. We point the mirror at ourselves. We're all part of this whole money game.
I love how he takes the extra step again in this video with like providing, it's a simple lyric video, but you're going to provide all the depth to it. Like you don't have to film like a whole, it is a music video. Even though you want to call it a lyric video, it is still like a music video. There's a message behind like all the visuals that they're giving you, like kind of like when we're choosing to use them. Like, you know, the right here at the end, the mass panic, hysteria, like, oh my good God. Oh my good God. He opens the door for Pandora's box like literally every time. Again, I feel like all I could really do is just say that like this, he is just like, he finds always the best ways to just like paint these pictures to really get you to think about any of this stuff. And again, I think I brought it up, I think on the last Money Game reaction I did to Ren, where I said, I'm like, there's been times even in my time with YouTube so far, and now I don't have that problem at all, where I'm like, I almost let like that little bit of greed control me in like which reactions I was choosing to pick. You know what I mean? Where I'm like, well, this one I can monetize and this one I can't. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do the reactions that I wanted to do. I wanted to support the artists that I wanted to support. And I wanted to be able to give those reactions, especially to those people who asked for them, or if they were specific requests. So, Ren, I think, especially with this Money Game series, it's a good thing to continue to just revisit this and just to kind of like remember and have those lessons and revisit those ideas of like, you know, like what more can you do? Are you still on that straight and narrow? Are you still trying to live by those practices? Still practicing those principles? And I trust me, guys, I understand that it's hard. It's hard because we all got bills. We all got shit to do. We all got shit that we gotta do tomorrow, and we gotta pay for it today. You know what I mean? So I understand that it is really, really hard to do that, and it's tough. But you really gotta try to, you know, use your best foot forward and really just and try to always make sure that you can sleep comfortably at night, and that you knew that you could do as much as you could, because at the end of the day, like, don't let the money change who you are. Don't let it change who you are. Like, it's so everybody's always just at the half a step away from going on a path that they don't necessarily want to go down, and just don't ever let it go. Like let you completely go down that wrong one. You know what I mean? Like, we're all gonna stumble, trip, and fall because we're all human at the end of the day. But we got to try to do our best to just try to better ourselves each and every day. And I think that Ren is always just a good example of that. Really, when it comes to everything, when it comes to just how we look at our lives in general, how we look at humanity, how we are in terms of like what we do and giving back to others and the planet and all of that. You know what I mean? Like, you know, just taking care of ourselves in terms of our mental health and doing what's right for us and doing what's right for the people that we love and care about. You know what I mean? So I feel like he's a little bit bigger than the music that he makes. Does that make sense? I feel like he represents an idea of something. And I feel like only he's the one that kind of is kind of like the poster child of that. It's really kind of difficult to put into words, but Ren always finds the best way to put them into words.